All right, guys. So let's jump into this. Let's get going. Today's topic is going to be about talent optimization. I want to be very clear about who this is for and who this is not for. Okay, so it's important that we understand that if you're just going to hang on here and watch and get some new ideas and stuff, that's great. What I'll be introducing today is primarily targeted for people that are, teams above 2-3 people. They've got field staff. Like, this is where you would apply this tactic or this strategy. And it's for people that are developing and building teams. Okay. Now, why I kind of make that clear is I don't want you guys to have something that's not necessary for you at the scale or level that you may be at. So again, if you want to stick on for the idea, great. But again, this tool wouldn't have served me at a startup level, where it does serve me more into survival and stability. Okay. So let's get rolling here. I'm going to share my screen with everybody. Oh, no, I'm going to have a technical glitch first. Hold on. Bear with me. Okay. All right, here we go. You guys see my screen? Okay. So what we're going to go through first, okay, is talking about what a talent strategy is. Okay. And we want to look at really simple ways and easy ways for us to build our team, where we have to kind of look at how a team is structured, how it's built up, and understand the different personality types it takes to have an effective team. Okay. So what I'll be showing you guys here is a bit software based. It's about, being absolutely sure. The way I would describe it to you is building your team, playing chess rather than checkers. Okay. So I give you that reference because we can use science-backed systems to actually, positively identify the person that would fit into our team and into our roles, rather than trying to, guess at it. All right. So this has a lot to do with personality types, and it's a very clean, easy system that we can start to, if you choose to, start to implement into your team strategy. So today's roadmap, we're going to understand your strategy and people. Okay. Consider what your teams need now. All right. And adjust for the hybrid workplace. Okay. So first off, we want to understand strategy. Okay. Understanding the strategy is as simply as I can put it, is that before we go out and hire somebody, all right, we have to look at the current people we have on our team. All right. We have to look at the pathway we're looking to go. So some teams, we're looking for production. We're looking to optimize our production. Okay. And we have to make sure that we have the right people in place that have the characteristics we're looking for to drive that production. Okay. A lot of times what we see, and I'm definitely, this was an eye opener for me, is that, the people I thought were really great, and in fact were, all right, did not have the characteristics or the ability to do what I was asking them. Okay. So no matter what, 9 times out of 10, my team would have failed. Okay. So really frustrating for an owner to kind of, and I'm sure you've gone through this question, like, I've done everything for this person, like, you continue to babysit them. You're hoping that it gets better, or that they're going to pick up on it. Or, the other side of it is, you get to a point where it worked out really good before, but you introduced someone else, or you're trying to scale your team, and all of a sudden the strategy or the person it falls apart, and we're into a situation where we're having to rebuild. Okay. So what we need to understand first is that there's, just like anything, there's a system, there's a process that, all the Fortune 500 companies, a lot of big organizations follow. So it starts first and foremost in the hire process. Okay. And we're going to get really deep into that. And we're going to talk about hiring properly to begin with. And I'm going to show you some tools. By the way, if anybody likes what they see and they want to get an actual demo account, you're going to drop your email in the chat box, and we'll open it up so you can actually use the software that I'm referring to. Okay. So starting with hire. All right. Now, I know in PFC, we have a lot of training around the hiring process and getting candidates to to apply. We have stuff about interviews and everything else, but an interview unfortunately can only take us so far. Okay. And a lot of times, even with a perfect candidate, that you may not actually know what person or personality type would fit that role. All right. So I'm going to give you a really good example of this. When I first started focusing on team strategy, I was in the process of hiring a project manager, a superintendent. Okay. This was about 2 or 3 years ago. The profile that I created, all right, I stuck to the game plan. I didn't question it. But when I got to the interview, I was not sold by this person that had applied. Now they scored very high, but I was not sold. Like all my instincts and my intuition were going, this is not the right person. Okay. Luckily, I actually had a coach that from PI that we looked at the interviews, we scorecarded them. I took all my emotions and my past beliefs and my limiting beliefs away, and I stripped it down to I want to hire this person exactly to data points. If I knew exactly who I wanted to hire before, all right, but I hadn't hired for this position before. Okay. I hadn't had that person in place. So I trusted it. All right. We created a profile. We created a job description, and I'm going to go through that in just a minute. But we created a job description in the software, and I matched all my candidates to it, and we scorecarded them. Okay. The guy that I got through, did not believe in it whatsoever, was really hesitant, and I am so glad that I did hire that person. Now, I'll be honest with you, I don't get along with him. So my superintendent and me, we clash. Although I meet him at meetings and stuff, I dislike him as a human being. All right. But here's the reality. This man is absolutely turned around the business in a lot of ways. He's got full management control of all of our teams. He's in every way, shape, or form. Okay. He's given me exactly what I wanted. All right. What I came to understand after going through this experience was the reason I didn't like him is because he was like me. He was my same personality type. And I had personal things that, come into play, control, all of these other things that were limiting me finding the right person to put in place. Okay. So that's what I'm talking about in terms of the hire. The next is when we talk about inspire. Okay. We all want to inspire our staff. We all want to have really highly engaged employees, and we want to have a great culture. Like all these are really cute terms for what we're trying to achieve. But what is that? Right? How do you do that? All right. And what I've come to find out is what works for one person, all right, the way that you would motivate one person does not work universally for everyone. Okay. So this is more about inspiring the right way, understanding the personality that you're hiring for. Okay. And then speaking to them on their level and making sure you're making a human to human connection. Okay. Building a relationship. And sometimes, okay, we don't know what that is. We don't know what the next steps are. We don't know if again, if you ask me, how to speak to a specific personality, I mean, it's as much as I've invested in my time and energy into learning all of this stuff, I'm still using the guides. I'm still trying to figure that out. But again, it gives us some clues. All right. And where this all really kind of comes into play is now we can step back, all right, using something like this, and we can think about not the team we have now, okay, but let's say next year your plan is to build a whole new team. Okay. You want to have a salesman, a sales manager. You want to hire, a production crew. You want to, how do we do that confidently? Okay. Because again, we can go out and play checkers and, trial and error, but the cost of making a bad hire, all right, is exponentially high, right? The other problem is what might work right now, all right, will not work going into the future. Okay. We also have one more thing just to kind of lop on there and to put a lot of doubt and make us want to get small, is that the workforce has changed. Okay. More and more millennials have moved into it, and I'm not bashing millennials, so please, if anyone thinks that I am, I'm not. But we have a different value system. Okay. And I think I've talked to you guys a lot about this, so this might be, something you've heard me over and over again say, but I'm going to say it anyways. If we take a baby boomer or a Gen Xer, any of that generation, their value system is if you work hard, you're going to get somewhere. All right. So if you work hard, so in other words, you you work hard, you're going to be given a pathway, right? You're going to get an opportunity. So you had to work for the opportunity. All right. Now, millennials and other groups have grown up watching their parents go through this. Okay. And their belief and value system is different. Okay. Their values are, I want the opportunity now, and then I'll work for it. Okay. You see how that's the opposite? Completely opposite. So they want to be shown the pathway and the opportunity now. They're not going to work for it until they know what they're getting, right? Where other generation, the shut up and work and put your head down and go, they were working for an opportunity. They thought that they're going to get to the next level, to the next level, and the next level. But that's not the way it works now. So we have to be very clever about who we bring into our organization, and we have to be even more selective, okay? Because those types of personality clashes and those types of belief systems are going to cause us a lot of problems moving forward. All right. And where you're going to see this turn out first is in your production. This is a symptom of not having an engaged, high morale, highly productive team. Okay. So if we get to the core of what creates an engaged employee or staff member, a lot of it comes back down to, first of all, are they the right person for the role? Second, do we know how to motivate and talk to them at a level that they appreciate to open them up to, the opportunity? Do we also know how to put them with the right people, the right team to actually get the result that we want to achieve? Okay. So this boils down to building awareness at each level. Okay. So most of us, we're up here. Okay. We know us, we know what we can do, we know what our capabilities are. All right. Where it starts to become a problem is knowing how people work together, knowing how our teams, how the dynamics of that team are set up, and what do we have. So again, I will call it like what players do we have? Okay. I'm going to use a hockey reference here. I'm sorry for my American friends, but if I'm setting up a line, all right, and I want to have, I have to have 2 defensemen and 3 forwards. Okay. Does it make any sense to put my goalie in a forward position? No. All right. But some of us are doing this. Some of us are repeatedly doing this. All right. And the last part is strategy. Okay. So most of us, and myself included, and anybody that will maybe take a minute, we'll have a chat about this, but most of us start with a strategy. The strategy is, I'm going to build this team. I'm going to do, I'm going out to hire, I'm going to put my recruitment hiring process in place and everything else. So, I mean, that's a part of a strategy. Okay. I need 5 guys, but we don't really put them all together. We don't really understand how those things go together. The goals of the company, the strategy, how many people, all of these things are what holds us back from actually achieving it. Right. And then having it actually work when we do execute it. All right. So I kind of refer to this as driving the car blindly. Right. So consider what your team needs now. All right. So for people with existing teams, and for people that are going to build teams as well, we have to think about what is it that our team wants to stand for. Okay. So a lot of us want the perfect team. You want them to be highly driven, dedicated, creative. You want them to be able to solve their own problems. All right. But you also want them to be process driven. Okay. You want them to be, you want some things out of them that are the opposite of what you're trying to achieve. Okay. So where I'm going with this is essentially what it boils down to is we have to have a talent strategy that is in line with where we want to go. Okay. So when we're looking at teamwork, for example, okay, if we want a team that works, is engaged and has a high morale, all right, we're going to hire in sector 1. And I'm going to hang with me here, guys. I'll pull it all together. All right. So we may have parts of our team that are teamwork driven. Okay. We may have a person on our team that is innovative. We may have one person that's process driven or results driven. Okay. Knowing what that combination is to get the result that you're looking for is most of what we're talking about here today. Okay. So I'm going to actually go through how this all works out in using the software. But I want to just take a second. Does anybody have any questions? Is anybody, there's no wrong questions or anything. Does anybody have anything that they want to ask me about this so far? Nope. Okay. All right. So now we're going to take a look at the system in the software form. So give me a sec here. All right. You guys see my screen, the new screen now? Yeah. Okay, cool. All right. So again, we talked about personality types. For the record, in this one, I'm a captain. So I bring certain attributes to the team. I fit certain roles. All right. But you're not going to move me into a administrative or compliant role. All right. So basically, I wouldn't be a good selection for you in admin. All right. Where something is repetitive and over and over again, that's not going to be a good place. Now, how do we really know? All right. So what we do here essentially is we're going to create, and this is PI. So PI has millions of data points, okay? Hundreds of millions, in fact. So it's a data-backed science system for profiles, okay? So because there's so many people using this software, every time a job profile is created and someone's hired for that role, okay, the success of that role dictates, how PI comes up with these standards. So what we're looking at here is behavioral targets. Okay. So if we're looking at a role that we want to hire for, okay. So this one in particular is a sales role. Now you could create this and it has every role you can imagine under the sun. All right. So we would create a manager or whatever, a painter, a roofer, whatever. Okay. They have specific attributes that the system already knows because 1,000 of these types of people have been hired, which person is going to actually fit the role. Okay. So it's going to produce that for you and give you a description of what you're looking for. All right. But it's going to go one step further than that. So it gives you a summary of all the attributes. For anyone that knows 16 personalities and stuff, it's very, very close to that. All right. So we have our personality type that we need for this role that we know it's going to work very, very well. Okay. So it gives you, again, those attributes that you want to create for that person in that role. Okay. So this one happens to be, in this score range. All right. Now, what happens next is that we have candidates apply for the role. Okay. Each candidate takes a personality assessment, all right, or there's two assessments. So there's the behavioral and there's the cognitive assessment, okay? So what it allows us now to do is match the person to the profile, okay, and produce a score. So we have a behavioral match. So does the person's behavior match the role that I'm trying to hire for, okay? And for this example, like we have a 10. All right. So if I'm looking at a sea of candidates, or I'm looking at, maybe down to 3 or 4, right? I want to match my candidates to the role I'm trying to hire for. All right. Because what else could happen? Let's say we're hiring, sales is especially difficult without these, but let's say I'm hiring for a sales role. All right. Someone interviews really, really well. Someone has the right attitude and the things that, kind of, make me feel good about hiring them. All right. And I go to test them, and this happened to me many times. Okay. And there are 5. They're the wrong person for that role. How would you know? How, what's the screening process for us to know? And again, even checking references. So there's a funny statistic that's out there that I really appreciate from this, is that without like this kind of background matching and personality profiling and everything else, you basically have a 50-50 chance of guessing the right person. 50-50. So to me, that's a game of checkers. Okay. When you're using this software, all right, or using something like it, you can use, personality profiles. There's a few ways to do it. You don't have to use this, but if you're using a profiling with good interviewing strategy, all right, following up on references, you have a 93% chance of actually getting the right person for the role. all right, and having them stick. So let's play the numbers game here for a second, all right? Give me in the chat box, how many of you guys in the last year have made one bad hire? Just give me a 1 in the chat box. Let's see. Okay. Just one of you have made, oh, okay. I would expect that. Okay. Yeah. I kind of assume that, right? So, and especially for technical management roles. Now, let's look at it this way. So we almost all of us have made one bad hire in the last year. Okay. How many are you looking to hire this year? Probably just about everyone. Yep. Okay. So if we had a 93% chance of making the right hire, the right person, the right role, the right fit, and we had a roadmap for how to coach them, motivate them, work with them, and inspire them to stay with us, okay? How would the outcome of this year that you've just had with that bad hire be different? Think about that. So if you had a 93% chance of making the right decision versus just guessing at it, just assuming at it, all right, would your odds of finishing out this year been better? Of course they would, right? The cost of that bad hire is high, and it only gets higher as your business grows, right? You want to hire a manager, make the wrong call on hiring a manager that's managing your business, that's, you know, involved in your teams. A salesperson, okay, could be 10x revenue or 10x wages rather. That means you stand to lose 10 times what you're going to pay that person if they do a bad job. Okay. So again, we got to think about these things. And this is why I really kind of bring up the fact that I want to make sure everybody understands this is a scaling tool. Okay. This is for owners that are going to build a team around them and direct the team. Okay. The assessments, again, if we're only going to hire one person next year, I wouldn't recommend it as an investment. Okay. There's other things that you could use, 16 personalities. There's other tools and stuff that you want to use. All right. It's when we're actually going to implement a team strategy. So when we have 4, 5, 6 different people that are working with us, now this software becomes very valuable. And I'm going to go through why. Okay. So I'm actually going to just show you guys. Hopefully we can get through all of this, but so the benefit of it here, what we're going to look at here is sales team. Okay. So this is a live sales team. This is the actual sales team. No, I don't know why that's not opening. No. Okay. Okay, here we go. Okay, so with each person that we hire, okay, and we'll put in me. And we'll say in the media. Let's see how I would make out with a media buyer position. Okay, so first of all, it has my profile, all right? And as we can see very clearly, I should not be our digital media buyer. Okay. So the data points here is going to clearly show I'm not a great candidate for that. Okay. And that's just based on my personality profile. Now, the other thing that we want to look at, all right, is we're going to go to and let's say we've hired a new sales rep. Okay. We'll use my profile. What the software is going to do is it's going to come up with a strategy guide for things to do and things not to do with that person in the role. All right. So we've got the right person for the role, but how do we keep them motivated and engaged in what it is that we're trying to do with them? So strategies based on my interactions is encourage both independent and collaborative opportunities for goal achievement, give them challenges to solicit input, give them opportunities to identify solutions collaboratively, independently as they choose, allow independence and control over their activities. Okay. So again, this is a coaching guide now. Now we're going to set up those activities that we're going to work with to inspire our staff using this this model. All right. It also gives us, a management guide for, what we have to do, how we can coach them through making improvements. Okay. And like I said, the profile changes from person to person. Okay. Um, let's go to the coach managers. So now we'll go to, okay. So again, we're going to get some insight into that person that we're hiring, because there's many different personality types, many different, things that we need to be aware of, and ways we need to communicate with our team members, that are, like I said, not necessarily the same across the board, right? So it gives us some cautionary places. So caution may appear to Therese, more steadily, team members may tend to be intolerant of delays, especially when impacting results, may become frustrated at teams' pace and ability to be flexible. So this is my profile. Like if I was being coached, having this information up front is going to help us to make better decisions. Okay. Understanding the person that we're working with, because sometimes what happens is, and I know probably all of you have had this experience, is you're going to take the action or the behavior that they're displaying, all right, and you're going to make a conclusion on that, right? So example, your superintendent won't pick up his phone. Okay. He's not picking up his phone, customers are complaining, they're not getting back to them, everything else like that. Okay. Now, if I have to go in and coach them, all right, and I know that I'm dealing with this type of personality, all right, and that, again, the way that I'm going to communicate with them is I can't be, demanding, I can't be abrasive, I can't come in and scold them in front of teams, which you should never do anyways. So the way to go about it and to get the best result, okay, is to coach them. All right, is to work with them, have them identify the problem that's there, because they know, and work with them to solve the problem on their own, rather than going and being a dictator to them. You're going to reverse the process. It's almost like reverse psychology. Okay, so we're actually going to have them identify the problem that's going on, have them come up with the ideas to solve it. All right, and let them implement it. Okay, now if I were to look at, let's say, an artisan, all right, they don't function that way. All right, they're not, they're very technical. All right, so if you tried to have that conversation with with very much your team members, so an artisan in these profiles is who makes the best candidates for field staff. So these are guys that are really good at the trades. Okay, like, they're top carpenters, and it's unbelievable. Like, it's basically only one profile that really fits, like, true trades guys. Okay, now if I went to him and I wasn't direct and I didn't provide, clear what I want, how I want it, all right, and I tried to get him to think about it, he would get very frustrated with that. That would be like I was talking in riddles to him. Okay. So again, as you kind of go through some of this stuff, it's guiding you. The system here is guiding you. And there is other methods, like I've been saying. So in terms of, how it works, is it's basically giving you inside information on every individual that you have on your team. Okay. It's also making sure that we're hiring the right person for the right role. All right. Using science-backed data. All right. And the next thing that it does a really good job of is taking a look at the strategy we're going to implement with our team. Okay. So getting back to this strategy, if we want to build a team that is, let me go to this. If we're going to introduce new people to a particular team, all right, we want to know what the potential impact is to the team. Like, how does it change the direction or the internal functions of that team? All right. What this software again allows us to do, and again, this is a little bit higher level stuff, but it's going to allow us to take and compare different attributes that somebody brings to the team. So either brings to or takes away. All right. And then it's going to give us a guide as well on how to work with that team. All right. So what we want to do, first of all, is we've charted our team. So each member that's come in has given us their profile, and we've charted that team and determined that their working style or their working type, all right, in terms of discipline, process-driven, innovation and agility, or teamwork and experience. Okay, so this team is more innovative and agile. All right, for a sales team, that means that they're going to be top producers. Okay, they're big time closers. Where they're going to be very hard to handle is that I have nobody from this team that's in the discipline or results category. All right. So they're not going to track data. They're not going to, be accountable. They're just going to go out and try and close deals. Okay. The next one is process and precision. Okay. Process and precision, again, for trades, very, very important. All right. Most of your team is going to exist in these quadrants. All right. When we're trying to develop them. All right. We may have one person that's kind of the crew leader that would be more in the results and discipline. Okay. So we got to look at where the individuals and the team leaders and team managers should be. You do not want your team manager being in the process and precision, because what that's going to do is they're going to be focused on very, critical details. They're not going to be training, guiding, driving teams. Okay. They're going to be very individual and focused on the details of their work. Okay. Mind you, you're going to get really great work, but that's not the person to build a team on top of that you want to get a production result from. Okay. Teamwork, employee experience. Again, if I can say it like this, that's the guy that everyone gets along with in the field. That's the guy that, is friendly with everyone, welcoming to all our new staff. I often refer to them on our crews. We call them the cheerleaders. Okay. But again, we can't have one with the other. Like nobody's going to cross all the quadrants. So we know that when we put that type of personality type together, we need someone that is at least in the results and discipline category, like in order for that team to be guided. Okay. Is any of this making sense for you guys? Okay. If you want, you can unmute. We can have a conversation about it. But again, this is going to plot your team. Now it's also going to give us, based on the people we have on that team, all right, it's going to give us our strengths, all right, and it's going to tell us what to be cautioned about, all right? So ambitious, eager drives things forward. You bring energy, excitement to your work, quick to make new connections. You're good at building relationships and expanding your networks, always asking what's next. You're excited about driving the market to the new places. With strong focus on speed and innovation, process efficiency may suffer. Okay. So just like I said, process and efficiency. So again, for a sales team, we would make our processes very simple. So we're not going to have a long, complicated sales structure. Okay. You may be too focused on the big picture and not enough on the details needed to implement your ideas. Okay. So this means that this team is without an anchor. Okay. They don't have a team anchor, somebody that's going to make sure all the contracts are signed, all the details are followed through with, that a structure is being followed. There's no discipline to the team. Okay. So it's just a bunch of cowboys out there trying to, sell deals, which again, in a structured way, it can be very productive, right? But this allows you to now see what the team is missing. All right. So when you're interviewing or you're going out to find somebody to be a sales manager here, because that's actually the thing that's missing. All right. You're going to look for someone with attributes in process and more in results and discipline. Okay. That's a sales manager. The sales manager profile would be down here. Okay. That would anchor the team. They would be accountable to it. That's how you solve the problem and create a strategy around building that. Now, this is a team that's already formed. All right. Which is okay. Now we can see what we need to change to get it going the direction that we want. If it's better, higher quality work, all right, we're going to have more of our team members in the process precision category. If it's, a bigger drive, you want to do big time production, we're going to have some more in the results and discipline. If you want a highly connected team, you want a really good company morale, you want, guys that are working with, big crews, team and experience is going to be probably where you're going to try and keep your team members. Okay. Innovation and agility, I would say that's more for our businesses and for our thing. The way I can describe it is these people are the ones that are going to lead your teams. Potentially they're they're better suited for a management role. Okay. Again, they don't make great site supervisors or anything like that. A site supervisor or superintendent, generally you want them to be process driven. You want them to be, be able to deal with day-to-day stuff. You don't want them creating new stuff on the fly. You don't want them coming up with innovative stuff. I will use the term, a lot of us have lots of chiefs and not enough Indians. Okay. Hopefully I don't offend anyone with that, but that is the case, but that's by design, right? What I found, how I got myself in that position is I hired people that I liked. All right. I didn't hire people I needed. All right. I didn't hire people that I didn't, I hired people that I liked and trust. Okay. Unfortunately, that is a recipe for disaster these days. Okay. Liking and trusting is great. All right. But the people that are going to be the opposite of you, all right, you're not going to trust, or people with different attributes or that bring different things to the table. So this allows you to kind of open up and see the potential for a team. All right. And to maximize production, to maximize, and give you the best odds. Now it's not foolproof. It's not, guaranteed. There's no guarantees in anything. Okay. But it gives you a big leg up on anybody not considering these things. Okay. Not taking, not trying to actually form successful teams. Okay. So let me give you guys sort of some insight as well in terms of, where we would use the tool. Yeah, come on. In setting objectives for our teams. Okay. So if we know the strengths and weaknesses of the team that we've hired, okay, we already know, and we've got, we can be very confident that, they're going to fit into these things. All right. Next, we're going to want to look at, okay, great. How do we communicate with them? What's the best way to communicate them? Some is very direct, right? Some is more coaching and collaborating. All right. But if we know that that's giving us the advantage, we also want to know how to resolve conflicts. All right. How do we go about, let's say, and again, we form this team, our ideas and the way we would solve conflict doesn't matter anymore. Okay. We want to look at the whole and be like, okay, this is how we're going to essentially go about resolving, any issues or conflicts or introducing new things, change. All of this stuff creates, stressful situations. And I'm sure everybody on this call has had them where, in the moment, you're trying to do the right thing, but, it sets off this cascade effect of other people's, emotions and feelings getting involved, or, maybe you've promoted somebody and the rest of the team is hurt or bothered by it, or they're arguing with you and questioning you about, your decision. Okay. It then, unfortunately for us, for the majority of us, it makes us question our ability to hire. All right. And then it has this other effect. When something fails or falls down, we get this resistance to try it again. Okay. We have to really put all of the odds in our favor. All right. And this is just one of the options of doing that. All right. Does anybody have any questions on what, what I'm presenting here so far? How many of you are like super confused? Okay. Quiet crowd. I think that's a lot of information, isn't it? Okay. So I'm going to, let's try and put this into a more practical, usable sense. Okay. So I'm going to pick on, who do I got on here? Rob Very. Let's pull you out. Rob, are you there?
10-4.
Okay. Rob, give me an example of a conflict that you've had on your team recently.
How specific do you want me to be?
Okay. So is there a reoccurring conflict? Like, A doesn't like B, or C, you can't put this guy with that guy. Give me, like, any conflict will do.
Well, I think it's just exactly what you were talking about, is hiring people that you like.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're younger, why would you ever consider hiring somebody that you didn't like? That's
Right.
not how we were raised to think about that. I was brought up in a blue collar family, so
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily know that it was one conflict. It's just
Okay.
where you're just hiring, and if you don't have processes and procedures, you are hiring because they are good at producing a particular widget and then you have a high expectation that if they can do this for themselves, why can't they do it for you? And
Okay.
then if you didn't run those things off of processes and procedures, magically within 6 months, you're like, wait a minute, why is John not producing for me? Well, you didn't give him the tools to do it, and you didn't, and in this case, what we're talking about, you didn't match his personality to the exact job that you were hiring for.
Okay. That's a good answer. So in terms of resolving a conflict or not getting into it in the first place, all right?
Yeah.
Starting with the right person, we can all kind of appreciate like hiring the right person for the role is great. But let's say, okay, let me give you a scenario. All right. All of a sudden we took you out of the picture. Okay. Now
That
John's
sounds good.
John, right? But hold on here. John's the supervisor now. Okay. And we want to replicate the same thing that the relationship with you and John, right? That was productive, making the company money. And we want to basically go out and find another John. Okay. So how would you know with certainty that you could rinse and repeat that formula that's already worked?
Just like what you were showing us on the profiles.
Okay. That's some insight. Now, let's imagine for a second we grow, we want to grow twofold, and we do. Okay. So we hired another John. He's with the John. It worked out. We repeated that process. Okay. Now we have to add different departments. So now we need a sales department and we need a, safety officer. Let's go. Okay. What's the impact to your business by making a bad hire at that juncture?
Oh, the dominoes will start falling.
Correct. Now you've hired John. You know who John is, right? Okay. Do you know what a safety supervisor? You've got no formula for that, right? You've never ever been successful. In fact, you might not even understand the whole role or the description or any of it. Okay. How do you confidently make that hire?
Well, you can. It's like what you said before. It's a 50-50 shot.
Okay. And then imagine a sales team that comes in. And then let's say you put someone in the role and you happen to, you got really lucky, everything lined up. You got the right person in the role. All right. But that's not John. That's not John. You know what makes John tick because you worked with them. You know how to motivate him, and just you've learned that from trial and error and over time, right? But this personality comes in now that has such a big impact on your business, like hiring a sales rep, hiring a superintendent. You've never encountered the personality type that would take to it. How do you motivate, inspire, and retain that person?
A couple of ways you could do like what you're talking about, or you could fall back on trial and error, or you can go back to you pulling and pushing all the levers again in the business, which is going to keep you stuck.
Okay. Or you can, and here's a couple other scenarios. So, or you can micromanage, right? Because you don't know the role, you're going to be in the way constantly. You're going to aggravate that person and not let them expand. Now, again, what if I were to tell you maybe one of the people that you've hired in the production end would fit that role really well? How would you know, right? You've asked somebody to do one task, or you've got sort of your view of this person. All right. Like, remember the story I shared with you about my superintendent. Okay. But meanwhile, you could have easily moved this person up to the next role, but how would you transition them with that change? Again, here's all these question marks, right? There's all these gaps in how we build a team. So that's where, again, we want to look at what's our strategy? What's our plan, right? Who do we need? And how do we be sure that the people that we're looking for are going to fit that strategy? All right. And the answer to this is why I didn't grow my business for a decade. All right. Is that I didn't know, and I was existing off trial and error. Again, forget systems, forget good business, like good people and good teams don't even need systems to operate. Think about that. We're still, no matter what, we're a people to people business. Okay. We'll never remove that. People don't buy machines. People don't buy systems. People don't buy or come to work for machines. Okay. Not yet, at least. All right. So we have to always consider that we're in a people to people business. And the better we understand the people, all right, and are able to set aside our false beliefs and misinterpretations and misunderstandings and trial and error and everything else, the faster we get to the location we want to be. More importantly, this is the biggest one for me. Okay. And I'll just be completely dead honest with you. Confidence. I can be confident, but I question myself a lot about things. I need something that gives me some validation and proof that the decisions I'm making are going to do it. And then when it does happen, okay, when I get that first win, when I get that first, and I did with this software, like we hired 50 staff here at PFC and strategically built out each team using this method. Okay. In my own business, again, the same thing. We have 40 staff. We use the same method, same strategy. And again, from somebody that is from the outside in, okay, they don't understand it, and that's fine. All right, that's my secret weapon. But to my competition, why is it that on paper, all right, we're doing just as much, if not more, work than our biggest competitor with half the staff? How did we do that? It wasn't just systems. I tell you, because systems take you so far, right? It wasn't that I had this or I had that. No, it's that I understand now that people make up businesses. Okay. The stronger the people you have in place and the better communication, the better that you can optimize a team for what it is you're trying to achieve, the better the result. Okay. So I'm going to try and cheat the line, and it's worked. It's worked very well. All right. So again, there's I don't want to make this is not a magic pill. Okay. This isn't something that's overnight going to change your business, because you have to change with it. It's about giving you a leg up. It's about giving you more opportunity. And again, you can use 16 personalities, you can use DISC, you can use all types of things to kind of get close to it. But at the end of the day, you still have to make that call if that position matches your team, matches the person you're hiring, right? So don't do that. Take the easy way, right? Here's the hard way, trial and error, right? We know what the expense of having a bad hire could be. We know what the pain that's associated with the bad hire. You know what the confidence risk is to you. And believe me, when we have situations like this, when we've lost a key member, or we've all been there, right? We lost somebody that we really needed, and like our business has been set back. That right there, that moment of truth with yourself, okay, shakes the confidence that you have in you operating the business, right? How many of us have had those thoughts? How many of us, have gone through that experience where, again, like all the decisions, you're working so hard and you're doing everything right in your head, and it doesn't work out, right? It forces you to restart again and restart again and restart again. I went through this for a decade. Like, it just blew my mind. And it got me to the point where I thought that, hey, you know what? Like, I have to get small. It's the only way that I can manage this. The only way I can do this is getting small, right? I got to protect myself. I'm only going to work with Johns, right? Because I know what I can compete, I can get to him, but John's not going to take you to the next level. He's not going to scale your business for you. All right. Somebody that is, probably, again, not even similar to you is going to help you do that, right? Combining John and that other person gets you out of the picture and allows you to do what you're good at, right? So again, I'm just using some examples here. Anybody have any questions in what we're discussing at all? You guys have been really quiet today. Okay.
Jay, I think or at least what I'm hearing you say is this is just another layer of the onion that we've been peeling on how to make our business better. So
right.
in every facet of what we always talk about specific systems, but the flip side of that coin is implementation.
That is everything. That you nailed it right on the head. You can have all the systems, the SOPs. Like, listen, look at the resources everyone has in front of them at PFC. Like, there's thousands of things that are out there. But if you don't have the right people in the right place, doing the right things, all right, you're not getting there. I don't care. You could try it every which way you want, 10 times to Sunday. It's not happening. Okay. And that's where, again, and it's getting exponentially harder to find the right people. Okay. Because again, you've look at the odds stacked against us. We're running into a generation that has completely polar opposite values. Okay. We're competing with that. we are the most, if you do not have engagement with those staff, so a millennial, highly distracted, okay? If you can't get to them and get to them in an effective way, what are you left to do, right? Scold, repeatedly put away your phone, like all these things are time killers, right? They're momentum killers, they're profit stealers, you're setting yourself up, right? And how many different combinations do you want to go through and experience and trial and error before either you get fed up and you get small, or and give up on growing the business, or you start to employ things that give you advantages, right? Give you like clear cut like advantages. So again, I leave it with you. I know this system, again, this is for companies from the top end of survival to stability. If you're making hires, if you want a more in-depth look at that, it can be, you can use it in different modules. You don't need to use it all. If you're still interested, please give me your email in the chat box. I'll set you up with a demo where you can play around in the account. There's no cost to it or anything else. You can, put people through and try it. That's what I would best suggest. I mean, I'm not going to go through a full demo with you guys on a software. It's more about the principles that are standing behind what I'm trying to explain. And that's, again, we're in the people to people business. Our job as owners, our jobs as leaders is to build and inspire teams. Okay. Anybody that tells you any differently is wrong. Right. It's not to build processes and systems. You've got to build and inspire teams. All right. Now, that's something that can be taught. That's something that can be, you could take, HR managers have decades of experience doing it. They're great at doing this. They can do it naturally. Do you have decades to do it? Do you have a decade to learn all the nuances of everyone's personality and how to make them gel and like all the stuff that comes? Of course you don't, right? So what do you fall back on? Instinct? Past experience? Well, they weren't great, right? I already told you I wouldn't hire me. I don't even, my profile and the same profile put across the room, like we're at it, right? So again, how are we going to change our views or our limiting beliefs and get ourselves to the next step, right? Good question to ask, something to think about. Again, I don't recommend that we, run out and we think this will solve our problem. As I've explained, this is something that you grow with, but definitely, again, as you're scaling your business, as you get to those crossroads where, this stuff is going to be absolutely like parallel for you to be successful, this is what you would use. Okay, guys, I think we're running up on time. Nobody had any questions. It's concerning. I hope you guys got some value from what we were showing here. Okay. All right, guys.
Yep. Thank you, Jay.
Yeah, no problem. Hey, Adriana.
Yeah.
Can you grab all of the Gmails or the emails for me?
Yep. All done.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Anytime.
All right.